Hey guys, what's going on? Thanks for tuning back into the video, much appreciated. And today we're going to go over what I consider the 3 best lures that you can throw in March, especially for quality bass. And March is getting to me, it's one of my favorite months to fish. It's the time of year I think there's more quality bass to be caught than about any month out there. And I've got 3 baits that have worked really good for me. I'm going to show you a little bit about them and how I like to fish them. And also, if you guys are interested in any of these baits, every one of them, you can get them at Baitworks in Springfield, Missouri, online or in the physical store. I'll include the link in the description. If you use that link, it's a great way to help the channel out here. Much appreciated. And sort of dragging this morning a little bit, I just got done with the Toyota Series tournament, Lake of the Ozarks, last night. And I've been staying at home, so I've been getting up like at 3 to 3:30 every morning, driving up there and back. So it's good to get a little sleep last night. Okay, let's talk about these March lures, guys. And there's sort of a transition that goes on in March. You got a lot of fish, depending upon the water temperature and the time of March, early, mid, or late March. You got a lot of the fish that were deeper or suspended in the winter, starting to move shallower, and they can get caught on different lure categories. And the ones I'm going to talk about sort of cover that. So anyway, I'll go over them in no particular order. First one I want to talk about is a Crawfish Pattern flat-sided crankbait. This is a Megabass Flap Slap. But anyway, in March, guys, a flat type-sided Crawdad Pattern crankbait is one of the top lures to catch good ones on there. And what I like to do in this is I'm looking for water temperatures sort of in the low to mid 50s, sort of that 52 to 55 degree range. And I'm fishing this thing in what I call staging coves. And these coves, they can be a variety of different slopes. They can be rocky banks, they can be gravel, they can be sand, whatever. But a lot of the fish in March, they'll start getting into these larger coves, like the coves that are right off the main lake, not necessarily coves that are off the creeks, but coves that are right off the main lake. And they get about halfway back in the creeks, and I'll get on the banks and I'll parallel this thing in about anywhere between 3 to 6 foot of water, making long casts in that zone. And it seems like to me, if you got conditions like that where water clarities are anywhere between, say, 1 to 3 feet, this is a great lure to catch big fish on when that water's in the mid 50s. Second one I'll talk about, guys, this is probably the #1 big bass lure you can throw in March, and that's a big spinnerbait. This is a 3/4 ounce spinnerbait. It's got a number 7 willow leaf on it here, Colorado blade on there. And guys, a big, heavy, large profile spinnerbait. Normally I'll use a plastic trailer, and I don't have one here, but normally I'll use like a 5-inch, some type of a split tail trailer on it. A big spinnerbait, slow rolled in those same type of areas. This is the best lure you can throw in March to catch a giant bass. And the average fish I catch on a big spinnerbait in March is at least 4 pounds, 4 to 7 pounds. Again, what I'm looking for, I'm going back halfway into those coves. And specifically on here, I'm not only targeting a little bit steeper banks. I like rocky banks with like a 45-degree angle, but also any wood. You know, if you have any lay down wood on the bank, something like that, I always slow roll this thing in here. The key on this thing is you want a really slow retrieve. I'll use it on a 20-pound test line. I usually throw it out there, and depending upon the angle of the bank, I want to try to keep this bait probably in mid water column or below, depending upon you know, how deep the water is. I like to concentrate sort of in that 3 to 8 foot zone and just sort of work it down the trajectory that the bank goes. And guys, I'm telling you right now, this is a hog catching bait. It works best also if you have some type of a higher wind, like if it's windy out, especially if you got some clouds. You can't beat this, man. When that water temperature is in the low to mid 50s, guys, put you on a big 3/4 ounce to 1 ounce spinnerbait and just go fishing with that. It's one of the best big bass lures you can have, even over grass. Even if you guys fish some of the TVA lakes or whatever, you can't beat that. The third one I'm talking about is just the old jig. This is the Blockhead Old School jig. By the way, you can get them at Baitworks. We also put the link in the description for the Old School jig here. A big full-size jig. This is a 5/8 ounce model, full skirted jig, and I like the Zoom big salty chunk on it, or I'll use the Popeye's pork on it, depending upon the water clarity. If the water's dirty, I'll go with the pork on it. If the water's got water visibility of like over 2 foot, I'll use the zoom trailer on it. But guys, a big jig like this is one you can't beat it in March. This is like the time it shines more than anything else. And I'll throw this around a variety of different cover. I'll throw it around, I'll pitch it around rocky banks, bluff banks, lay down wood, around boat docks. Any type of shallow targets is really good for this. And one of the top things that you can do with a big jig like this that I found in March is go back into the creek arms, like where you have the channel hitting the bank, and just take this big jig and just pitch the jig up to the rocks on those channel banks and hop it down that channel bank in anywhere between 4 to say 10 foot of water. A lot of times those big females will stage on those channel banks before they're moving back shallow, and a jig's one of the favorite ways to catch them. And the color on the jig is dependent upon the water clarity. I'm usually using some type of a brown and green if the water's over 3 feet of visibility, and some type of black and blue, black and chartreuse if it's under 3 feet. So anyway, guys, are you up this morning? You gonna say hi to everybody? They haven't seen you in a while. You about ready for school? You're not? Okay. Anyway, guys, hope that helps you catch a few more fish. I got to get Elijah to school, so we'll talk to y'all later. See you.